They've raised $155 million from VCs like Sequoia, Kleiner, Lightspeed. But before it was up and to the right, they had a big challenge. They built a product, went to prospects, asked for feedback, but they didn't ask for money. So when they went to ask for money, this is what happened.
And I says, hey, now here's the product, are you willing to buy it? The reaction that we got back from them was that, I've never bought a product like this. I don't know how to even think about paying for it. What is the ROI?
If you're a founder, you know how painful this can be. He goes into how they overcame this, what they did to get those deals over the line. If you know you have a good product that solves a real problem, you're going to love this episode. Boom. Welcome to Sit Down Startup Founder Podcast. We interview the best founders in the world and ask them what they did in the early days, right before that hockey stick growth moment. I'm your host, Adam O'Donnell, a former founder. I live here in San Francisco and I now work for Zendesk for startups. Zendesk is a customer support platform and we offer 6 months free to qualified product-oriented startups. Partner shout out this week goes to Brex. They're an all-in-one financial platform. Check out the offer that they have in our deal book. Arvind, thank you for joining Sit Down Startup Founder Podcast. I cannot wait to hear more about your story. If you first would just tell us about when you started Glean and was it doing the same thing that it is now?
Thanks, Adam. First of all, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me to this podcast. Glean is actually doing exactly what we started out with. We are a search company. We want to make it easy for people at work, find things that they need to get their tasks done faster. And that was our mission on day one. And that's our mission right now. So change, luckily.
Every time I ask that, I feel like it's like 80% of the time it hasn't changed for the really successful companies that I've talked to. So I love to hear that. Can you kind of flex a bit and share how big the company is, how much money you've raised, any metrics to kind of help people understand who haven't heard of it?
We started in 2019 and the company has raised about a little over $155 million, including our last round, which was over $100 million. We raised that in April of 2022, led by Sequoia Capital. The company is about a little over 200 people at this point.
Congratulations. We are all ears about your story. To be able to raise that in April of 2022, that must have been a really unique time. So I'm excited to dive into that. Tell us some of the lower moments that you had. Maybe there's a specific story before the $100 million, rounds and all that stuff in the early days where you were discouraged or challenged and how you overcame that. So
when we started the company, like as any other tech company, journey is like ours was similar. We got together, we got an amazing team built, amazing engineers who started to build our product, a great product. And I was the only one in the company who was supposed to take this product and bring it to our customers, go and sell it. The learnings for me, as we started to build this out, we got a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback from our potential customers that this was a problem that they faced every day in their life. This was a big problem for their organization, and therefore this was the right thing for us to work on. Right, so we kept going at it, and then there was a time when we actually had a product. Now we need to sell it. We need to actually make money. And so when I went back to the same people and I says, hey, now here's the product. Can you try it out? Are you willing to buy it? And that's when I actually started to realize that there were challenges that we never thought of before. We built a product that it's a kind of a product that has not been built before. It's a new thing. It's a search product. Like I said, it allows people within a company to quickly find answers to their questions, answers that are buried across hundreds of different cloud-based SaaS applications that your business has. Now, it's an important problem. It saves people a lot of time. It makes everybody more efficient, but it's a new thing. And there was no other product in the market that was doing this. So when we went back to these CIOs and told them that, hey, we have this product built out. Are you willing to buy it? The reaction that we got back from them was that, oh, like, I've never bought a product like this. I don't know, like, how to even think about paying for it. What is the ROI? What am I going to go back, get back in return? And it's sort of like, like the first buyer, they have to make a leap of faith. And so we sort of increasingly had this, these conversations where we just could not sell, and we had to figure out like, oh, shoot, what happened? Like, did we actually build something wrong? Like, we really believe in it, like, with conviction, but we're finding it hard to sell. So it was sort of a low moment for me, like, year and a half in, the fact that it was so hard to sell it, and I had to learn.
Oh my goodness. I've been there before. And I know that there's a lot of founders who are listening right now, who are there right now. The prospects said that they wanted it. And they're like, yeah, if you work on it, I'll buy it. We have the budget. Boom, boom, boom. You go build it. You bring it back to them. And you're like, okay, cool. I'm ready. Like, give me the credit card essentially. And it doesn't work out in the same way they said. And you feel like you got duped because you spent all your time and went all in and they didn't follow through.
Yeah, to some degree, yes. Like not like duped, and in fact, like part of it was my like fault. Like I never actually asked people like the first time that, hey, would you actually have budget for it? Right? I got the right feedback. Everything was actually correct. Like I didn't feel duped or cheated. It was just that like there was a learning for us. And like when you actually build a product, like you have to, it's good, it's better to do that, research and ask the hard questions the first time around, because otherwise people are going to be nice to you. They're going to actually tell you, if they have a problem, but that's actually different from actually willing to commit money and dollars to it.
So true. Well, help us with what was the shift moment and how did you overcome that? Because you obviously figured it out.
Yeah. So we went back to the drawing board from that. Like you try to figure out why are people feeling that they cannot actually allocate dollars to it. So we started to sort of quantify the problem more for them, like make it more numbers oriented. Tell them how many hours are their employees losing every day because they're not able to find things at work. They have to go and ask other people and wait. And a task that should have taken, an hour to do is taking 5 hours to do. So we went into that, and then you look into that time, that extra time that that gets wasted, and actually convert that to dollars, right? Paying somebody $100,000 a year, now you're able to actually show that, hey, this is the actual amount of productivity loss in dollars, and so that's sort of one thing that you do. The other thing is that you just have to talk to more people. So we kept talking, so like to more and more people, and eventually you find the leaders who are willing to be the pioneers, who are willing to actually make a decision on a new thing. So I think the lesson for us was just persist. Like you have to keep going. You have to talk to 1,000 people and get, like all you need is first, your first 10 customers. Once you have 10 customers, then you have plenty of proof points, to get the 11th and the 12th and the 20th and the 100th. So.
Yeah. Got it. So yeah, it sounds like you treated it like any other problem in business. Like, okay, we're not getting the sales responses that we want. Like, how do we solve for that? How do we show our ROI?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. It makes me think of Grammarly. I remember when that first came out and seeing an email where it said, hey, like you're using us, we've helped you with this many errors, but there were 70 misspellings that happened in the past week that we didn't show you. And if you go our paid program, we'll let you see that. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
When I was a founder and I was talking to people, like I could tell a difference when, say, you're talking to the CIOs, if there's a moment that you could zoom into where the phrasing that they're using when you're talking about the problem seems like there is a real problem. What were they saying that gave you conviction in that early step so you knew it was worthwhile?
So when we talk to the CIOs, the way we would actually conduct our interviews would be first, like we make it very open-ended. And we ask the CIOs, what is top of mind for you? What are some of the key problems that you're facing? And sometimes you hear, signs of like, they're mentioning problems which your product is actually able to solve for. And then you go and dig deeper. Sometimes it doesn't come up. And then you'd actually go and ask them that, like, hey, have you heard from your team that they find it hard to find things, that they find it hard to find experts who can go and help them help them with their tasks. And you sort of seed that and you get going. And oftentimes you would hear back from the CIOs, then like they would actually talk about the same challenges that we are solving, but now they're actually saying it in their own words, unprompted in some, to some degree. They would talk about that, yes, we have a large number of SaaS applications in our company. Our knowledge is, really fragmented and spread across all of these different systems. People find it hard to find things. It's hard to keep this knowledge, fresh and up to date. So those were the things, that we were looking for. We were looking for whether they actually had, this pain point around too many applications, too much information, too much knowledge spread across too many places. And when we started to hear that, when we started to hear from them, the same pitch that we actually make, that was a sign for us that, yes, we're working on something very real, something where we didn't have to actually, do a lot of selling to convince, our buyers that they had this problem. They were actually bringing it up on their own.
Yeah, I bet that was an exciting time. Let's jump into the growth side. So as you were starting to get your first couple of customers, what was one of the most impactful growth motions or channels that you used to hit that first hockey stick moment?
So there are two parts to it. One is you get a customer. Now a customer is say a CIO, and we're gonna bring that product to every single person in their company. So in some sense, we have a 2,000 users in this company that are going to be using this product. So our objective then was that we're only working with 2 or 3 companies like these, but within those we have thousands of users. How do we actually get our product to all of those users? How do we get them to use this product on a daily basis? Get them to use this product 10 times a day. So that was the next exercise that was basically in front of us. After we got our first 3 or 4 companies that were willing to try our product out. So when we got that, that was sort of the next exercise. We have a product, we bring it to people, and we started to run onboarding campaigns and started to sort of educate people about this new product that we had built. The great thing for us was that once we built it, we saw that the product actually spread on its own. You would actually send one announcement to everybody in the company. Some people pick it up, they start using the product, and then they absolutely love it. And then they would start to share it with people within the company, and you could see every day the number of daily users is actually going up, and that was an exciting moment for us. We knew that yes, this is the product that there is actually a big unmet need for.
But you had to sell it at the top. It couldn't be pulled up from the bottom, even though the bottom is the one the people on the ground are the ones using it. Is that right?
That's right. So our model is actually, sell at the top, to the CIOs. They bring the product to everybody in the company, and then the groundswell begins. That's when the product starts to actually take hold within the company.
Got it. And so, but it's on you as a SaaS company to make sure that it's actually being used once the CIO has already bought it.
Exactly.
Got it. It seems like it's a challenging growth situation because you still have to have a traditional sales motion to get the CIO to buy it. Is that right?
That's correct.
Got it. And is there any story there, or did you just start hiring a typical sales motion that you see at most SaaS companies, and that got the ball rolling?
So first, you are the only salesperson in the company, and I believe strongly that if you have this enterprise sales motion, like we do, you should actually first go as a CEO, try to go and sell to at least 15 or 20 customers on your own. This is what that's the most valuable lesson that you can get in terms of learning from the field, learning how your customers, what their needs are, what their concerns are going to be as you go and deploy this product. What is their their propensity to pay for a product like this. So we didn't build any sales force. We had zero salespeople in the first 2 years of our company, and I was the only person. And then once we saw the proof, once we saw that yes, there is success in the market, the CIOs are willing to buy, and people are actively using the product. That is when we start to scale up and build our team. So we started with one person. We had one salesperson, and then we waited another 6 months. Where it was just the two of us, and we hired a third one, and then we had enough. Once we reached about 50 customers, we had enough confidence at that point to sort of go and scale at a faster pace.
I love that diligence. You weren't trying to skip a step. You were really thorough before you tried to outsource something that you knew that you needed to understand more than anyone else.
Absolutely.
Kind of in conclusion, is there a specific story that you could bring us into, maybe a customer interaction a customer call you were on, or after a customer had been using it, that kind of represented a milestone and hey, we're there. We're ready to begin to hire that salesperson?
One story that I recall is I was in a call with this customer. First call, they knew perhaps one line about our company, that we are the Google for workplace. That's how they thought of us. We do the call. I start to do the demo. So I tell them a little bit about, hey, this is who we are. We're a company with 50 people, backed by so and so investors. With a lot of people with great experience building search products in the past. And I'm going to show you our product today. And then I start to do the demo, and I talked, I think for 30 minutes, showed them everything. And at the end of the call, or 10 minutes, 10 minutes or left, I actually asked them, hey, do you have any questions? And the person said that, I was already sold on your product within the first 2 minutes. Maybe you should have asked me, what questions I had. But I mean, this completely makes sense to me, and I'm going to buy it right now. Tell me, what's the process? And we did a sale. It took us that 50-minute call to do a sale. A 6-figure deal, and that's when I realized that, wow, I think this is people get it. People understand what this problem is. They are willing to actually pay dollars for it, and I don't have to always go and try to sell it. We're going to actually have inbound demand for this product, and that's sort of gave me that confidence to sort of start building out our team more aggressively.
That's amazing. I think that's something to remember, because how many times do we go on and try to keep overselling it when they're already there, but we just never checked?
That's right. Yeah. I'm certainly guilty of that all the time.
I've been there. I remember the SaaS company that I built, we were at an actual conference, and there was a prospect who came up, and I was going on and doing the whole sales thing, and he stopped me in the same thing and said he literally pulled out his credit card and was like, can we pay? And we didn't even have a way to take credit cards because it was an enterprise sale. So I know that feeling of just conviction in those moments, but it always involves money.
Right.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. Just the very final question is, what is your superpower as a founder?
So I feel building a great company is basically equivalent to assembling a great set of people who are the company, who are going to build the company. And I feel that we've been able to build a really amazing team at Glean. Very safely, I can say that every person who joined Glean after me is better than me, and is truly passionate about building this product. And so that's sort of one thing which I feel like I've been able to do a good job at, both at Glean, at my previous company, is communicating our mission and our vision to the best people in the world, and getting them to join our mission.
I love that. That is such a humbling statement to hear. Like every single person is better than you, quote unquote, which I know what you're ultimately saying, but you're hiring amazing people. And that's an amazing skill. Well, thank you so much for your time. This is a really cool story to hear, and I know our listeners are going to love it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about Zendesk for startups, check out our website, zendesk.com/startups. Also, we're always looking to improve, so don't hesitate to email me with any feedback on how we can ask better questions, guess the target, or anything else so we can do to better help you as a founder. My email is adam.o'donnell@zendesk.com.